Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. And I am your host, BMR. I'm also joined today with my lovely co-host, the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones. We got a great show for you. Darrell Denton, the mayor of Rogersville, Tennessee. That's right, the mayor. He'll be joining us. We're going to talk some Bigfoot encounter stories with Daryl. If this is your first time here, please subscribe, give a thumbs up, and hit the alert bell and share this out with friends, family, whomever. You can find us on YouTube at Texas Front Porch. You can find us on Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, YouTube channels, and also please subscribe to the lovely Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress. We're also on Odyssey and iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and wherever podcasts are found. Also, we're on KPNL Radio. Thank you to the lovely Selene out in Oregon for that. You can find us on Facebook at Texas Front Porch. You can email us at Paracryptid Encounters or Beyond BMR at gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe to Texas Front Porch, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and the lovely Jessica, the Cryptid Huntress. If you like our content and you want to support us, the super chat is always open. And long after the show ends, there's a super thanks out there. So if you're watching this in replay and you like it, hit the super thanks. You can check out our channels. Go to our about pages for all the descriptions. It gives you dates, upcoming events. We have other material outside of live shows for you. I'd appreciate that. I'm going to fade the music here. And I'm going to bring up the lovely Jessica, my co-host for today. And there she is. Look at that. Look at that top you're wearing. That's very colorful, Jessica.
Well, thank you. I'm feeling colorful today.
You look very pretty as always. And thank you for joining as my co-host today. And who knows what we have in store. Maybe until the end of the year. I don't know. Jessica's got a lot going on. If you missed it, Jessica, of course, is doing some other things now. But, hey, she's still part of our family. She's part of our team. She's one of my greatest friends. Jessica, I wish you the best in your other endeavors. I love you, girl.
Thank you. I love you and the whole crew over here, except for Randy. Just kidding.
Except for, the tinfoil hat wearer. You gotta love. He's our technical guy behind the scenes, man. He puts it all together.
He's one of my favorites, actually. He's actually really cool.
Yes, I had the opportunity to meet him in person in Jefferson, Texas. He picked me up at the airport in Dallas, Fort Worth area, and I spent 3 hours driving to our destination. And I tell you what, I don't care what Jason and Tex say about Rando, as I affectionately call him. He's a straight up dude. I love the guy.
Yeah.
Had a few beers. We kicked back. We relaxed. Not when we were driving, of course. But we had a good old time. We had a great time. And we do have really briefly. We do have our 5 shows a week. And Mondays is Texas Front Porch, 6:30 Central. Tuesdays Beyond BMR 9 in the East. Wednesdays Jason McLean questions everything at 10 in the East. Thursdays Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. Today at this time 1 in the East. And tonight we have the Serial Papers with Jason McLean at 10 in the East. Then Fridays, of course, we had the lovely Jessica Jones. Filling your time slot is the Blondes, Booze, and the Woo. They'll be premiering this Friday at 8 Central. So come check out the girls, give them some support. With that being said, enough of the marketing. I got an exciting show, Jessica. Darrell Denton's coming on. As I said, the mayor of Rogersville, Tennessee. I got some inside information about 5 minutes ago, Darrell, and I'm fixing to bring you up right now. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how you doing, Rob? Hi, Jessica.
Hey, Daryl.
Good to see you guys. A little quote there. It's actually a little town called Ridgetop, Tennessee.
Ridgetop.
I'm no longer the mayor there. I spent about 26 years involved in all that. So, but anyway, it's a great place to live, and I love that's my hometown. And I'm up on the East Coast at the moment. But
Well,
thanks for the introduction. It's hard to
Yeah.
kind of beat that with Jessica's introduction. So go ahead.
Well, Jessica, I've known her for quite some time, and Daryl, much like you and I have become fast friends, and Jessica's an awesome friend.
True.
I do love her to death. When I say that, I mean that, Jess, and I do wish you all the best, and we'll always be friends anyway. So it's not like I'm never going to see you again because I bug you at least once a week, So
More than that.
yeah,
I'm just kidding.
hey, yeah. But Daryl, like our ex-presidents, though, man. Once the president title, you're always Mr. President, so you're always Mr. Mayor. I mean, that's
right.
I still get called that a lot back home, and people still call me with problems back home, but I kind of refer them to the new people in that position. So
yeah,
but it's all good. I enjoyed doing it. It was a lot of years and time involved in it. I was actually the youngest mayor I think ever elected in Tennessee at the time when I first won. But
wow,
been quite a few years. But anyway, I enjoy your show, BMR, and of course Jessica's too. Jessica and I text back and forth on Messenger occasionally, and I do the same with Rob. So it's definitely an honor to be here, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, the honor's all mine. The pleasure is mine because I got to tell you, Daryl, I have been following you a while. Kind of not, and I didn't even really let you know until recently. I'm one of those closet guys. I follow people, then I finally, hey, how you doing? This is
that's all
BMR.
right. As long as you don't come out of the closet, we're okay.
Yeah, well, no, I never, no, we won't do. No, I enjoy my women.
I got you. I've got to figure we was going in that direction.
Yeah, of course. But okay, before this show sidetracks. See, Jessica, you missed me already. Look at her giggling back there.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, listen, Daryl, man. Before we get into this, I know you've got a lot of encounters and cool stories. And, I got to ask, like I asked most people for the very first time on the show, how'd you get involved with this enigma, man? Some people call it enigma.
I tell you, how it all started really was, I was always into hunting growing up, big time hunter. My dad and my grandfather and my cousins and uncles, and we always hunted numerous places, but mainly on my grandfather's property, who had a large farm way out in Cannon County, Tennessee, about 70 to 80 miles from where I actually grew up. And I was deer hunting there way in. Actually, it's been 30 years.
Uh-oh. Did I do something? Daryl, we can't hear you. Is he muted?
He's
Daryl,
muted.
you're muted. Daryl, you're muted, bro.
You can unmute him, Rob.
I don't know. Can I?
Yeah, go down to his picture and click the microphone.
Oh, okay. Well, I just did. So it must be on his and unmute. Yeah. Can't. He says his mic ain't connected. Uh-oh. Daryl, can you hear me? You can't even hear us. Daryl. Well, live radio, live YouTube. Now he doesn't understand. Daryl. Oh, boy. Daryl. Can we send him I got to send him a message here. Sorry, everybody. Daryl's got look at him rolling on, telling some great stuff, and now we don't know what the hell he's saying.
Oh, my gosh.
Daryl, you are muted. The pros and cons of going live. Oh boy. He's rolling. It's rolling off his tongue, Jessica. Oh Christ. Oh, excuse me. Gotta regain my composure. I gotta call this guy now on now watch, I'm gonna lose him. Uh-oh. Okay, let's see.
There's never a dull moment.
I can hear. Never. Daryl, man, I hate this. Do this. I don't know what the heck. Nope. Now you're muted. Now you're muted again. There you go.
There we go.
Don't worry. No pressure. Every time you move, it goes on the mute, Daryl, for some reason. Do whatever you just did. Go back. Okay. Now I can't hear him. I still can't hear him. Oh no. Let me see if I can try something here.
It's not muted. Daryl, can you hear us?
I can't hear him.
His microphone might be muted.
Daryl, it says you're not muted, but we can't hear you. Can't hear you.
We're going to get this right, y'all.
We're
going
going
to
to get it right.
Yeah, we're going to get it. They've got a big storm headed down out that way in Florida. Yeah.
They do. They have a big, we were talking about that backstage, and he says right now it's not very windy and everything is looking okay. We talked earlier. There he is diligently at work. Okay. It looks good.
Okay.
Okay, let's see if I can do something on this end here. I don't know. Well, yeah, looks like he's gonna log out, come back in. Bonza Booze, hey Krista, if you want to give me a hand, I know your buddies out there. I see Krista's in the chat. So, anyways, we'll get Daryl back shortly, I'm sure. We've all gone through this, right, Jess? You do live shows, man. You know when it happens.
I've been freezing up lately on mine. I just get a funny look on my face. And I look like I'm zoned out, but I'm just frozen. So yeah.
Yeah, and you always seem to get the freeze frame when you're making an awkward face.
Oh God, every time.
And you can't pull it
every
down,
time.
and everybody's laughing at you.
Oh God.
And, you know, it's just the trials and tribulations.
Okay. Yeah.
It's okay.
We can't help it.
Yeah, you know, it's just it's probably due to the weather, because I know that Darrell had done a trial run yesterday because he was worried about the weather, and everything went well. And in fact, I had him on for 20 minutes prior to the show, and everything was looking good. So hopefully we'll get him back. So while we're at it, Jessica, why don't you tell the good people what you got planned for this weekend on Spaced Out Radio?
Oh my gosh, I've got some really good guests lined up. I have Tyler Howell out of the Florida Panhandle coming on Saturday night. He has a really amazing video on his YouTube channel that he shot himself it looks like a Bigfoot crossing an area where some power lines are down in Florida. We're gonna talk about that. Y'all go follow him. It's Tyler Howell Outdoors. Okay, that's Saturday night. He's on YouTube and on Instagram and Facebook. And then Sunday night, I have Toby Johnson coming on. He had something to do with that movie, The Flash of Beauty. Yeah, he's coming on Sunday night. It's going to be really fun. The Owl Moon Lab. So y'all go check that out. But yeah, last weekend. Hey, Rob, I actually went Bigfooting last weekend.
So you know, how'd that go? I know you were out in the woods. And so let's talk about that a little bit. What happened? Anything crazy going on?
Yeah, it was super crazy. I actually met up with Nana Boss, the Nana Boss continuum, Marty, and her son Matt Williamson, who's a Supernatural Spectrum. And they came to Georgia, and we went up to the North Georgia mountains, and we had some serious activity. One of those nights, we had Bigfoot and some kind of ET stuff going on out there in those woods. So I think Matt's documenting it all in his next documentary. So I don't want to give too much away.
No, don't.
It was wild.
Now you did make mention. I'm a little curious. ET activity.
Yeah, some sort of ET presence was out there, but you know, it's kind of typical. It's part of my stomping grounds where I'm pretty familiar with the area, and we see a lot of UFOs out there. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to pry any further. You know, it was funny though that I'm going to have on my my one show, Beyond BMR, which airs Tuesday nights at 9 in the East in December. I'm already booked through December, but I've got one of your research partners coming on to talk about the Cube. Trey Hudson will be joining me.
Oh, cool!
And in December, and talking about a lot of your guys' research, you know, that you guys have been going through, and I'm really looking forward to that one.
Well, I'm going to be seeing Trey on Saturday. We're both speaking at the Molina Bigfoot Festival down in Pike County, Georgia. So if anybody is it's kind of middle to South Georgia, it's more middle Georgia. if anybody is in around Pike County or in Georgia period, and y'all want to come hang out with a bunch of Bigfooters, we're going to be down at that festival on Saturday. I'm actually speaking at around 11 a.m. Eastern. So y'all get on down and come see me. And it's going to be like Bigfoot everything. They've got vendors. They're going to be selling a bunch of Bigfoot stuff, food. They've got activities for the kids. I think they said horse rides and pony rides and games and a campfire storytelling kind of thing that night. I'm not going to make it to the night there because I have a show. But
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
but I'll be there during the day.
No, that'd be awesome. I'd like to get down. I've been on a couple. I started doing this the touring. Like I met you in Alabama at the Alabama Bigfoot Conference, and once again, I didn't meet you again, but that was in Jefferson, Texas, and I like those. Meet a lot of the people that follow the channels. A lot of people, a lot of great stories from people, a lot of great speakers, and if anybody has not attended a Bigfoot conference in general, I highly recommend them. I'm just getting word that one of my buddies, Krista, is working with Daryl to get back on. So for those of you expecting to see Daryl Denton, he will be on shortly. He's experiencing some technical difficulties, and thank God that we've gone through this before, Jessica, so we can not totally fall on our faces and say, "Oh, what should we do next?"
Yeah, it happens.
It's stressful.
It's okay.
It's part of the deal.
And that's why you have a co-host today. I'm here to help.
I'm glad, I was just saying, yeah, I'm glad I got Jessica coming on because I was even thinking he was making mention of the storms. And, with the internet, I don't care what type of internet you got. Sometimes these things happen. These things do happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope some of y'all will come out and see me this weekend. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of fun. And that county is really into Bigfoot. I'm not sure. I'm not positive, but I think they have Bigfoots painted on the side of some of their buildings downtown and stuff. So it's a big deal. And there's going to be funnel cake. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I heard there's going to be funnel cakes. So, and Bigfoot stickers for your car and t-shirts stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think we're trying to get Daryl back. Sorry, Jess. I was reading this text from these guys, and I'm going to have him come back on. We'll probably do We'll probably do it over the phone. So it's going to be different. Everybody, I apologize for the technical difficulties we are experiencing.
Well, hey, while you're figuring that out, I can talk about my show yesterday.
Yeah, please do.
If you don't mind.
No, I do not.
So for a lot of y'all know, I have a daytime show on Wednesdays. And I actually had a show yesterday. Hold on, let me pull it up. I had D.A. Roberts on my show yesterday. Okay. And I was talking with him about unspecified animal attacks and packs of wild dogs attacking people and things. And I woke up yesterday morning and I knew I wanted to talk about y'all are familiar with the Amazon driver that was killed by a pack of dogs a couple of weeks ago in Missouri.
Okay.
So DA and I actually talked about that yesterday. I remote viewed that. I got up yesterday morning and decided to remote view it. So my remote viewing, I did actually remote view something this week. So for all my Patreon members that are out there, I did post that on Patreon. So y'all go check that out if you want to see my data. It was because some people suspected that his death might have been caused by something that might have taken a form of a cryptid or something. So we explored that yesterday. So y'all go check that out. And we also talked about Barilla. Y'all know what Barilla is.
Barilla. For those of us that have not, why don't you please, we've got a little bit of time to kill. Barilla.
Yeah, Barilla. Well, I had looked into unspecified animal attacks on the remote viewing investigation show. And with the two people that were killed by packs of wild dogs up in East Tennessee, I think it was Tony Aarons and Amber Miller, I think were their names. And that was last year. And I was seeing that whatever had attacked them looked like it was a zombie bear. I kept calling it a zombie bear.
Okay.
That's what I kept hearing when I was looking at it. And I looked up zombie bears after that session. I was like, what in the world is a zombie bear? And one of my viewers actually sent me an email a couple of weeks ago about an article that's on, I think it was a video from Israeli News Live on YouTube.
All right.
And
Okay. Go ahead, Jessica.
you ready?
I'm gonna mute myself, talk to Daryl really quick. So I'll be right
Okay.
back.
Well, I'll just keep talking. So there was a video from Israeli News Live on YouTube, and it was about the CIA requesting funding to discontinue their super soldier program that was dealing with kind of like a human animal chimera, a hybrid kind of thing. It was a program that some of the special forces in the military had volunteered to do, and it was to take their DNA and alter it, injecting it with some sort of bear, wolf, and lion, I believe, DNA. And it sounds totally outlandish, right, to most people. Well, if you follow our shows, it's not that outlandish. Not anymore. I don't know. Anything's possible these days. But Barilla, that's right, Duke. I think that Barilla could be a Gugway, and that's what DA was saying yesterday. So it totally could be. A lot of these things are misidentified. Barilla is different from what I don't know if it's different or if it's not. I have no idea anymore. But the thing that I was seeing, they said that they had actually been doing this program since the 1980s. Okay, and you guys go look them up on YouTube and watch that show if you can. If I can think about it, I'll type it into the chat today. You guys can go click on that and go watch it. It's worth the watch. Okay, as outlandish as it seems, it's still worth it. But yeah, it's they were talking about the soldiers volunteered for this program, and it started back in the 1980s. I believe Bill and Hillary Clinton had something to do with it, because they were mentioning how Bill Clinton was the governor of Arkansas when this happened, and Hillary had some involvement in it as well with this program. And what they would do is they would pair up male and females, like a man and a woman, and they would alter their DNA somehow and then send them out all over the world, in China and Russia, and here in the US, there's like 17 or 18 of them that they released. And the man said on this video that there were 2 of these beings released in East Tennessee. Okay. And they were paired like male and female because they wanted them to reproduce. Okay. Reproduce and see what the kids were going to be like, the offspring. Right. But the program had gotten out of control, and they wanted to request money from Congress to discontinue the program. They needed like $10 million or something like that. And they were going to euthanize their assets. Okay. They wanted that money to go hunt these people down, these beings, and kill them, actually, because they were wreaking havoc, is what this article said, what this guy was saying. So like I said, if it's true or not, I don't know, but it sure did line up with my data. So y'all check it out.
I got him on the phone, Jessica. I'm gonna play him through the mic and see if we can hear him real quick, okay? But I might have to mute myself. I don't know how this is gonna work. Hey, Daryl, why don't you say something out there?
Sorry about that. Hope you guys can hear me there. We've kind of lost all of our internet here all of a sudden, and our Wi-Fi. So, am I coming through at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sounds good. Everybody in chat, does he sound pretty good?
Sounds good on my end.
Sounds good.
Can you turn your phone up a little bit?
My
Ron,
phone's all the way up.
Volume? Okay.
All right. Sorry about the inconvenience, and I hate to drop in on the show like that, but not a whole lot I can do about the weather. So
no, that's okay. As long as people can hear you. Everybody in chat says they can hear you. So not unfortunately, it's not your fault. It's the weather.
They can hear him.
I'm going to probably, because I have a hard time though talking like this. So we'll just get on with it. Daryl, okay, why don't we get back to what got you involved with your Bigfoot experiences, and I'll just kick back and listen.
Okay. Well, I was pretty much that morning when I was hunting, this creature stepped out of a large cane thicket to the left of me, and I'm up in a tree stand probably about 25 feet up. And I put the stand there the day before, and it walked out and took maybe 1 or 2 steps and just leaped this creek and to the other side where there was a game trail. and walked down the game trail toward what's called a drag rag I had hanging in a tree directly in front of me, which has a scent on it that attracts buck deer. And it walked right to that limb and stopped and turned and looked right at me. I just honestly couldn't believe what I was seeing, because I'd never seen anything in those woods and hunted there most of my life. And it stared at me for a minute, and then it reached up and grabbed that rag and smelt of it and just ripped the whole tree limb out of the tree. And it was a pretty good size, not big around, but a long tree limb, probably about 10 foot up. And by that time, I was pretty much terrified. I thought, what is this? I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And it looked at me, showed me its teeth. That was the part that I remember really well, when it showed me its teeth. And then it let out a growl at me while it was staring at me, looking up. I'm on about a 45-degree angle on the side of a hollow overlooking this creek and a tree. And then it let out a scream like I can still hear today inside of me. I've never heard anything like that. It was so loud and pretty much echoed all down that hollow. And by this time, I didn't know what to do. This was opening day of black powder season, and you only have one shot, and it's a black powder type rifle. And I didn't know where to shoot or what to do with it. And I decided not to shoot because I didn't think what I had would bring this creature down. And I actually, it turned and walked back away from me, going to turn completely around and walk back in. And that was what got me into Bigfooting. And I was pretty terrified I ran to my grandfather's house, and it was a long way. And when I got back to his house, my grandfather he said, "What's wrong with you, son?" And I told him, and he said, "Oh, you seen the woodbugger." And I said, "Well, what is a woodbugger?" And he said, "Well, it's a creature that lives here, and I've seen them 4 times in my lifetime. But they don't harm you. They just don't want you in their territory." And I said, "I've been hunting here all my life, and you've never told me about these things?" And his answer was, "Well, if I'd have told you, you wouldn't have went in the woods, and you wouldn't have hunted and did all the things you did here," which made sense, but I was pretty terrified. And I pretty much stayed away from the woods for about 7 years, probably. It was pretty frightening. I had nightmares for a long time, especially the first year or two, and really I developed insomnia where I couldn't even sleep at night because I didn't want to dream about it. But, and of course, it was a lot different 30 years ago than it is today, because you can't talk to people about it like you can now. So I'll pause here a minute if you want to say anything. I can't see you on the camera, but I'm just trying to talk.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to hear you. Everybody in chat. This is Darrell Denton. I got him on my speakerphone, and my phone is up to my microphone. Hopefully, you all can hear it. That's very frightening, Darrell. Jessica, is it coming through good? You can hear pretty good?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
No, that is frightening, Darrell. I mean, I'm trying to juggle between getting this set up and what do you think? I don't know. So you're thinking this was a Bigfoot? Were you able to capture any video or audio? I'm sorry I missed part of your conversation there, but so this in your mind was a Bigfoot creature, correct?
Yeah, there was no way it could have been anything else. I mean, when I looked at the creature, I had a good idea what it was, because I really couldn't think of anything else it could be. But I was probably at that. Hey, Yale, come here a minute. Excuse me 1 second. Yale. first time, anyway, I pretty much realized what it was, and then when I pretty much went back to talk to my grandfather, he pretty much told me that that's what it was. He called them the old people, had always called it the wood booger. And I actually looked up pictures of this thing after that. I went to a library. I got kind of interested in trying to figure out what I'd seen. And there was probably 10 or 11 different figures of what I'd seen of Bigfoot in there. And the second one, the picture in the second one in the book was called a type 2, and it was called the wood booger. And really mean looking face, just like, I've seen a lot of Bigfoot since then, different types, but I've never seen another one like that one. But it was probably about the meanest looking one if you look into Bigfoot, and it shows you the 10 different types that a lot of these things have. It would be the worst looking one.
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of those charts where they've got, like the variants. I've seen that primarily, though, with like, I think there's a Dogman variant, Jessica. I know that you've had Nick on quite a few times, Valente, and he refers to that chart. Not quite sure I've seen a Bigfoot chart. And let me ask you, you think that this was something that was a flesh and blood creature, or do you think there was just something? I think I heard you say something about just materialized. What's your overall thought on your experience? Was it a spiritual thing in nature? Was it flesh and blood, or something out of the paranormal?
No, I definitely think it was flesh and blood. I've been around quite a few Bigfoot since that day. As a matter of fact, several different clans that I gifted and befriended, but it's definitely flesh and blood. Now, I do believe they have certain type of abilities. I don't know that all of them do, but I know some of them have abilities to do things that are unnatural. So, but I have no doubt it was not anything paranormal or interdimensional, not the one I see. There may be some of those out there. I do believe there are.
I was watching a video that you were on, or you're on Josh Turner podcast some time back, and you had made mention of out in the woods experiencing these creatures, and came across, like many of us have heard, flashing orbs dancing about in the woods. And now, did anything materialize out of that, or is this something that was separate from the encounters? And I know you've got many of them that you've experienced during your time.
Well, I've seen numerous Bigfoot over the years. I've been deep in the woods. A lot of my team didn't like to go on. I had a team of about 3 members, and we gifted several. First of all, what got me more of a researcher was about 7 years after that happened. I was fishing at my spot that I'd fished all my life, and I had my minnow bucket missing 3 different times, actually. Well, 2 different times. The third time they tried to get it, but didn't. And I actually befriended that Bigfoot family, and they were never aggressive, very friendly, and actually they did become my friends. But now the one you're talking about was probably my third area that we were in, and he was a good friend of mine, was with me there because we had been called by a buddy of ours we grew up with, and he lived there with his girlfriend, and he was out of town a lot, and she was scared to death because these things were looking in the window at her at night. And that's about 30 miles from where I actually live in Tennessee to that location. And we spent a lot of time down there. A friend of mine named Billy Howell. And we spent a lot of time there and never really had any problems for probably the first year and a half, maybe a little longer than that. Did see like the creatures. I've seen only 2 of those creatures. He's seen more than I did. But that particular area was probably the strangest thing that's happened to me with Bigfoot. And that's when I did see 2 large orbs. He and I were in the woods that it was probably 1 o'clock in the morning, probably about 200 yards behind the residence, and they live in a very rural area. And we were sitting there, and there was actually
Uh-oh. Did we drop him? He dropped. I don't think Rob can hear me. Can you hear me, Rob?
No, I got my headphones, but yeah, the call was dropped.
We're going to blame it on the storm.
We are. We're going to have the poor guy back on. I'm sitting here holding a phone. I can't pay attention to anything that's going on. Excuse me. I got a tickle in my throat. Hopefully Daryl will reconvene. What do you think about all that? Yeah, what do you think about that?
I think that's awesome. Oh my gosh. So the Bigfoots were stealing his minnow buckets. That's so fun. I mean, it sucks to be a fisherman and not have your minnow bucket. But I think it's pretty cool. I wonder if they were eating the minnows or what, or maybe they just didn't want him fishing there or something. I mean,
yeah. Well, I can't see a Bigfoot wanting to eat minnows. I'm thinking he's taking his bait, right?
Yeah,
so they can't
taking
get
the bait.
Bigger fish.
Yeah,
somebody. Yeah. So that's what I relate to. I can't see. I guess eating a minnow for a Bigfoot, I guess, would be for us equating that to eating maybe a
crouton.
A tic tac, I mean,
it'd be smaller than it would be like nothing.
It would be absolutely
a grain of salt.
A grain of salt.
Something like that. Yeah. That's hilarious.
And
that's pretty cool though.
That is really cool. And gosh, I'm really anyways, it kind of reminds me too, when I had my Bigfoot encounter, someone had suggested to me when the rocks were thrown at me and I got yelled at, get the heck out of here. I suppose it said, right? Who knows what it said. Someone told me that I was disturbing his fishing grounds. And the only reason I say this, Jessica, is because I had a person who watches the show. He sent in some video clips about my area in Cadillac where I was fishing. And then he went on a little boat and he got back in the swampy area. And there was a bunch of fishing nets dispersed right around where I had my encounter. I mean, they're the not quite a commercial net, but they were underground, and he looked. It appeared as though that they were placed there, and it was very primitive in which the setup was. Now I do know that Bigfoot is smart. I've seen them, never seen them, but I've heard stories and accounts of them reaching into rivers and lakes and just scooping up salmon with one hand, right?
Oh yeah.
I've seen even accounts of some with spears and spearing them. I saw a video actually on that. Whether that's actually goes on, I don't know. But what do you think? I wonder. I don't see Bigfoot making a net though, like this guy is telling me. But then again, he said I was in his his hunting area. They could do a lot of things. I mean, they disappear. Why not make a net?
I think they could totally make a net. I mean, okay, so I have a cousin who is an amazing artist, right? He actually created the Bigfoot. If anyone watching has ever been to Expedition Bigfoot in Georgia, the Bigfoot Museum, there's a really large Bigfoot statue made out of muscadine vines in front of the building. Well, my cousin Jesse made that. Okay. And like I said, he's an amazing artist. His name, go to Gravity Barn on social media. Y'all check him out. It's a lot of Bigfoot and alien stuff that he makes. And he's been sculpting the bust of Patty, okay, from the Patterson Gimlin film. And upon really careful observation of her, he believes that she had her hair braided. Okay. And so if they can braid hair, they can build a net. They can make a net. Okay.
No, I'm in agreement, and I thought it was fascinating. I like that. I never really told people that, because he's a subscriber to the show, and he told me this maybe a year ago, and it went back. He actually went from the road side. He didn't go in from the lake where I was, but he went in from the road, and he dredged throughout the swampy area. It was about maybe foot high, and then he got to a deeper area. And so he stopped his scouting about because you realized that he needed something smaller to get back there. So what he did was he went back a few months later and got on his boat and went to my area. And then see what happens is there was a stream or a small river, or I'll call it a stream, that fed back into the area where my Bigfoot came out of. Because I
Wow.
showed it, because when I did my original encounter story, I mapped it on Google Map where it gives you the exact location where I was. And there's these like little fingerlet inlets. They go back into the Manistee National Forest, and it's all swampy. And he went back in there. He sent me a video, gave me a couple snapshots. And Jessica, along this, going back into this area, there was 2 abandoned boats. I'm not talking. Yes, I mean one was
Yeah.
one was like a rowboat. One was like a skiff, but they were like just left there, and we're thinking, what in the world? Why would someone leave their craft there? Even if it was a piece of junk, maybe someone dropped it off because it was a piece of garbage. If I were to leave a boat somewhere or crash it out somewhere, I'm going to have it hauled out of there.
Yeah.
And it appeared like they were there for many years. So I'm just wondering if that was somebody got back in there and this creature that I saw was spooked off. Maybe they were, maybe they became a part of the missing, right? We don't know.
Could be.
And so I'm just wondering if that was an area if that's even imaginable.
Yeah. Well, my team has been out in the mountains, out in the deep woods, and found camps that have been abandoned overnight or during the day at some point. Everything's there, but there's sign. You can tell that no one ever came back. People ran out probably in the middle of the night, scared to death, never came back to get their stuff. You can find some pretty good gear at those abandoned campsites. I'm just kidding. I'm kind of kidding.
I seen this video, Jessica, where there was abandoned RVs, beautiful, tents made from Coleman tents in the woods. I mean, beautiful, like they're brand new, and somebody got spooked and left them there. That goes
Yeah.
on. That goes on
It
more.
happens. Yeah, it happens
goes
more than
on
you think.
More
It
than you
does.
might think.
Well, and you got to think we're researching very heavily populated like Bigfoot areas, so it's usually where the big alphas are hanging out in that area. There's going to be an abandoned campsite or two occasionally.
Yeah, and I find that just to be amazing. I'm trying to get Daryl back. I think he called me. We might just have to reschedule because this is He's got such great stuff.
He does. I see Big Texas in here, and I think that's Nicholas. He said he found he found an abandoned camp once, and it was torn apart. Everything metal was bent up. All good stuff. Yeah, man. You got to wonder what happened to those people. I hope they ran fast. Just want to be the fastest. We don't have to be the fastest. You just got to be faster than the slowest person, right? I forgot what that saying is.
Yeah, I don't know. You got to be the slowest. Yeah, absolutely.
Just got to be the slowest one in your group. You're fine. But yeah, that's why you got to have your situational awareness when you're out in the field.
We got something going on here. This might be a savior here. I don't know. I see Daryl Denton. I don't know, Daryl. I got you up just to let you know.
Got Daryl's living room. There he is.
There he is. It's something to do with your mic, my friend. Yeah, no. It's got to be something with your mic setup. It was running beautifully 20 minutes prior to the show as well, man. Let's see. Let me try something here. Okay. Edit mic setting.
Oh wow.
Man,
Big Texas. He said that they'd found a tree over the campsite too. Man, something must have tossed a tree on those campers in the middle of the night. They ran out of there. Huh.
Okay, it says here, Daryl, I don't know if you can hear me. It says can't unmute guest because they have self-muted. So it looks like you've got yourself muted, Daryl, if you can hear me at all. I don't know. Daryl, don't worry. I mean, if you can hear me, I'm not blaming any of this on you. As the weather is fantastic. So far, so good. I guess I got something coming in here. Live TV, right? Just hey,
Yeah.
Daryl.
It makes it a little more interesting, more
Yeah,
fun. Keeps it exciting.
keeps it exciting.
Yes.
Don't panic, Daryl. It's okay. I know you're stressing out right now. Don't worry about it, my friend. I see
Yeah.
you got a young person in there. That's probably
That
what we
always
need.
helps.
That always
Yeah.
helps.
It does. Well, hey, you know what? I was going to say that when people, when you find abandoned campsites, a lot of times it's really good to have tracker training, like go out and learn tracking in the woods, human tracking, animal tracking. So you can kind of get an idea. I mean, it'll tell the story about what happened. A lot of times you can see where people ran out like a herd of elephants in the middle of the night on some of those campsites and stuff like that. So,
Oh, damn!
yeah.
Oh no, I hear somebody. What the hell, Daryl?
Yeah, this is probably the worst show you've ever had. I knew this was about to happen today.
No,
No.
man, I loved it. You know, hey, I adapt to change. I move on the fly. Jessica move on the fly. Our people in chat are still here.
We got stories too,
We
Daryl.
got
Why you
stories.
been gone? We've been talking. It's okay.
We're no slouches behind the mic. We can keep it going.
I kind of figured y'all could handle everything. I just was
yeah.
worried. I was kind of worried about this happening today because of the weather, and I'm not real technical either, so that makes a difference too.
Well, I got to tell you what, me and Jessica, we're going to hush and you just keep rolling because you got some great stuff. Unfortunately, I didn't hear all of it because I was concentrating on holding the phone and looking at chat. Hello to everybody in chat. I haven't said hi to nobody. I love you all. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for still staying in. And thank you, Daryl, for joining us regardless. I know you were probably stressing a little bit because I know I was.
Not really stressed, more like, what the world do I do now is a better way to put it. But, I was trying everything possible, and my son went and reset the internet, and it kicked back on. So,
well,
I don't know how long that'll last.
I don't know either. I don't know. So why don't you just entertain us with some more of these fantastic encounters? Because I'm going to kick back and relax now. I feel my stress going away.
I might need a drink. Anybody got a drink for me?
I'll send it through the intro web, as they call it.
That will work. Yeah, that'll work. I don't know where we were at. I don't know how much you heard, but I think you were asking about the orbs. I think that's
you had a terrifying encounter, and you've had just you continue to talk on. Everyone knows what I sound like and what I talk about. So go ahead, Daryl.
Well, I've had numerous experiences over the years. I go deep into the woods by myself when I was researching. I would camp in 6, 7, 10 miles in by myself because my team didn't like doing that. They didn't care about being out there that far. But and I've had lots of encounters like that on my own. The actual orbs was at the third gifting spot that we had befriending these creatures at due to a friend of mine having problem with him looking in the windows of his house while he was gone, and his girlfriend was terrified. So that's how we got there anyway. But these the orbs, we had been gifting there probably a year and a half, maybe close to 2 years, and had no problems with these Bigfoot. I basically just seen the female and the juvenile. They would come out and could witness them. My partner Billy had seen the bigger males several times while I wasn't there. But the orbs started probably sometime around October of 2020 is when we were there. Very strange because we were there every day or two gifting, and then we would go out in the woods at night and sit and watch them, and we had a FLIR and also listen to them, and a lot of times you couldn't see them, but you could hear them. But I think it was a Saturday night. Well, no, it was a Saturday night. We had went in the woods to our regular ordeal, just to watch them and listen to them. And they're a lot more active at night than they are in the daytime, so that's why we went at night. We didn't really have a lot of fear from them. They hadn't caused us any trouble. This particular night, my partner Billy and I had separated probably about 50 foot apart. We were kind of hiding behind some trees, and we were sitting behind some trees. And on top of this ridge, probably 60, 70 feet from me, I seen what looked like a regular light bulb. That's the only way I can describe it, because I've tried to put something similar to that in words. But it looked like a glowing light bulb walking on the ground, and it was coming down that ridge, and it went through a ravine, and it was headed right toward me very slowly. It wasn't fast. It was just like something walking. And it got almost with probably about 5 foot from me. And I'd actually pulled my weapon because I didn't know what it was. And it was very strange that it was coming right to me. And by that time, my partner Billy had moved up closer to me, and he turned his flashlight on. And when he hit it with a flashlight, it turned into a possum. And I know that sounds insane, but it's the honest to God truth. It turned into a possum.
Wow.
And it looked right at me, with probably 3 foot away, and it opened its mouth and made kind of a hissing noise. And then it just turned around and slowly walked back to where it came from. Probably about 20 minutes from that happening, after it went back up over that rise on that ridge, we seen these 2 large orbs come down from the trees, and they were about the size of a beach ball. There was 2 of them right next to each other. They stayed together. They come down, and they were hovering about a foot off the ground, and they were pulsating. And when I say pulsating, it looked like lights inside. They were kind of like lines going. I can't hardly explain it. Kind of similar to a lightning bolt, what that looks like, but not as more of an electrical type look. And they were pulsating red, orange, and pink. And that went on, and we were both pretty weirded out because we'd never seen anything like that there or anywhere else. And we watched them for maybe about 20 minutes, and then they started to move to the left, which is going down the hill toward the gifting area that we had there. And we had a spot there next to a big tree that we gifted on, and they went right down to that area and hovered above that area. And then they started to kind of go back toward the deeper woods. So we both left and went back to our vehicles because we were going to try to find out if there's a gravel road about 300 yards from there to the left of that area. And we took his truck and went down that gravel road that goes back into nowhere and looked up toward the woods, and we could actually see those orbs still there. They were red and pink and kind of orange, and they were just going back through the woods very slowly.
Daryl, I gotta step in real quick because this weekend I was in the North Georgia mountains Bigfooting, doing some research with some friends, and Matt and I both saw orange orbs in the trees. They were kind of orangish red.
Yep.
And I'd not seen an orangish red orb before, not orange like that. So it's interesting that you're saying this today, because I've seen a different colored orbs, but never an orange orb before until this past weekend.
Well, I'd never seen any orbs that I'm aware of, but those were really large. And I think, I've mentioned this to people before, and you're the first person I've heard that's seen that color orbs that I have.
You're the only other person I've heard see them too. And here we are.
Most everybody says they're either, white or blue, or that's the colors I've heard. But it was really strange. I don't know what it was about or what that was, but I truly believe they're connected to Bigfoot. I don't know how, but I've heard other researchers say that they are Bigfoot. I don't know. I don't know that to be true, but I've heard people say that, and I don't doubt anything. After you see Bigfoot, you don't doubt anything anyway.
That's right. Well, I can tell you with the orbs that I saw this weekend, it was associated with Bigfoot in the area. They were there surrounding us. And I did, right after I heard or I saw the orb, I heard something grunted at me in the woods.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It wasn't a bear.
I've heard that a lot,
Mm-hmm.
And
I believe they actually grunt at you to try to see what kind of reaction you'll have.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they can definitely pick up if you're fear. If you're scared of them, they know it. And I can't think that some of them kind of feed off of that. But and some of the other ones will make other noises and mainly for communication. But I truly believe that the grunting part is to see if you're going to run. And 'cause it seems that's the way it's worked for me anyway. So I felt like running several times, but I just kept sitting.
Right.
yeah, and you know what they say about running, you really, if you feel that a predator's in the area, that's the last thing you really should do is turn your back and run.
Very true.
Oh, you
Very
shine your flashlight on them. Be like, what do you want?
Well,
Yeah,
it worked on the possum anyway. So
Jessica's a slayer of cryptids. She goes right after him.
Jessica's
go
out
right at
there.
'em.
I had no idea she was in the deep woods doing that. That's remarkable.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Okay.
I'm a Bigfooter first, and then I
Yeah.
have. That's how I got all these talk shows.
Jessica,
You know,
Darrell,
I was really never fearful of going into the woods anywhere. I've been into the Shenandoah National Forest in Virginia, and it's really remote. It's in the bottom of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and I've been in there really deep by myself at night, and I've heard all kinds of Bigfoot around. They'd be close, actually circling me, but they didn't bother me. But I guess my fear lately has become more of the dog man, because
Yeah.
after I've been hearing all the stories of the dog man with the Bigfoot, I'm a little leery of them. I don't know anything about them, so
Yeah.
so to your knowledge, you've never seen or suspected to have any dogmen around where you do your research then that
you know
you're aware of.
they were probably there. I didn't know it, but yeah, I mean, I've seen one dog man in October of last year. I did see my first dog man ever, but it was going across a field, and when it got to the edge of the field, it stood up on two legs, looked in my direction. I don't think it looked at me, but it looked in my direction and went into the hardwoods. That was my first one, and Martin Groves and I were up in Land Between the Lakes a couple weeks ago for a day and a night, and we seen some pretty weird things there. But
So when you said you saw it get up on two legs then and stand up, did you get to see like the full body? Did it have a dog's head, wolf's head, long?
it looked just like it looked exactly like a black German Shepherd in the face.
Wow.
That's what it looked like, and it was not huge like I'd always heard. When it come out of the corner of the field, it's kind of a story goes with this. I'd been in a store that morning drinking coffee with some older guys that hang out up here at the old country store, and this man came in with his son, and he had mentioned he had some creatures killing his goats. And I was sitting there and heard him tell the owner of the store that, and the owner looked over at us, and I said, well, what kind of creature? And he said, I don't know what it is. And I started talking to him, and I went outside with him, and what I thought was it was actually his aunt, not his wife, that he lived with, and she was elderly. And I went out and investigated their area. He asked me to come out if I would, and I did. And I sat there for days, and certain areas there, you had to cross a creek. He's pretty rural out there, and you had to cross a creek to get to the area he lived in. Drive through the creek. It was not high water, but they didn't have a bridge. And I went up and watched this creature probably about 10 days and didn't see anything. But I knew what the tracks were when I'd seen where they'd kill the goats at. I knew it wasn't a Bigfoot. And he asked me what it was, and I didn't want to scare him to death, so I didn't tell him. I said, I'm not really sure. So I think I was there probably about the second time in the same area when I seen the creature come out, and it was almost dark. It was in the far left-hand corner of an open field of sage grass, tall grass, probably 2 to 3 foot tall. And I seen something dark come out in the corner, and it was just there looking. and then it ran across the field. And I couldn't see it the whole way because it would go between the sage grass and I'd see parts of it. But I can tell you how it ran. It kind of, this sounds kind of crazy, but it had kind of a gallop instead of a run, kind of like a horse. It was a different kind of run.
So on
And,
four
and
legs then.
I didn't really know what it was for sure. I knew what I thought it was. And then when it got probably 10 or 15 foot from the wood line, at the other side of the field. It kind of ran from corner to corner, and I was in the bottom corner where it ran to. And when I was actually in my truck overlooking a hill where I could see that field, and I had binoculars and I was looking out the window. And when it got to that, right before it went into the woods, there was a clearing between that and the fence, which it crossed. And it stood up right when it got to the woods. It stood up on two legs. It turned and looked toward me. It didn't look at me, but toward my area. And then it went into the hardwoods. And that was my first dogman sighting that I know that I've had. I may have been around them many times, but
Now you made mention earlier that it had galloped like a horse, and then it stood on two legs. So we have all heard different counters of what their legs look like. I'm more familiar. Well, I've heard of them all, but some have them standing up like human legs, like you and I or Jessica or even Bigfoot. But some have, you made mention, look like a thin, like a German Shepherd. So my question is, when it stood, did you notice if the legs were hocked backwards
they
like a
were
dog?
they were hot. Yes, they were. They were hot. That was the thing that just really, I'd never seen one. And, I've always heard they're 8 foot tall, 10 foot tall. This creature might have been 6 foot tall. It wasn't that big, but it was big bodied, but it was real big. If the only way I could describe that, and I've told people this before, it was about maybe 3 times the size of a normal big wolf. It was a large creature, but it wasn't tall. It was just big. And when I say galloped, I don't mean like a horse running, but it ran more like a gallop that a horse does when you ride. I have horses, and I guess that's why I use that terminology. But it was a most different type run. It wasn't like a regular dog running. Uh, and when it stood up, I didn't get to look at it very long because when it got to the edge of that fence, it stepped over and turned toward me and with its head and looked in my direction, then it was gone. But I remember the head very distinctly. It was pitch dark black, completely all over. And it looked like a German Shepherd type head. No big, huge canines or none of that stuff that I seen. Now, it was a good distance too. It may have had those, but I did not see that.
Wow, Jessica and Daryl, Jessica and I have talked a lot about Dogman and like the soldier Dogman and the Dogman you just seen. Do you have any theories or thoughts on these Dogmen? 'Cause like you said earlier, I think when we had you on the phone about the different variants, and I know that I think it's like a chart out there that I might have seen. It might be needed to be brought up to date. I don't know, with all the different sightings that we come across nowadays. But do you believe that there's a dog man out there that's more of the bigger, girthier size one the size of a Bigfoot? Or you just think, like I say, I've never seen one. I tend to think they're probably more of what you've seen. But what's your thoughts? You think that these other things exist, even maybe the ones that perhaps look like the werewolf, or maybe the ones that maybe we all have the rumors, which I frankly believe that a lot of these things are genetically made in underground labs or dumbs. What's your thoughts? Any thoughts on that?
Well, I definitely believe there's larger ones because I've got close friends that claim they've seen them, and there's just too many accounts of people seeing dogmen. So, I've heard of larger ones. I'm sure they probably can be much bigger. Um, I've been talking to a gentleman that's got a lot of them lately, and I can't get into that right at the moment, but um, some of the sizes he's seen is pretty terrifying. But I don't know why they wouldn't be. I've heard of Bigfoot being 14 foot tall. I've heard all kinds of sizes. I've never seen a a Bigfoot any taller than maybe 8 foot. Now that doesn't mean they don't exist. I'm sure they do. But my first Bigfoot sighting, like the wood booger type, and that chart's out there. I did post it in my group several times, but and there's a lot of different types of those. The other type I seen were nowhere near like the first one I'd seen. They were more like the patty type, which is listed as a type 1 or type 4. Dogmen, I believe they're just by my close friend. I don't get into Martin's stuff because that's his stories.
Yeah.
But Martin Groves is a very close friend of mine for about 40 years, and we still are very close. And he and I have seen very strange things at LBL, and something like I'd never seen before. And I don't know that I want to see it again. But I think that I wouldn't be shocked if some of those weren't interdimensional. I mean, what I'm saying by that is not a normal flesh and blood type creature.
I would like to get into that with you really quickly, but there's a cool question that slipped my mind, maybe even Jessica's. This guy, someone in chat, Chad Wolfen, whatever. He's got like 95.
He's got a long last name.
Yeah, he has a question, which I think is a pretty relevant. Did it have, from your recollection, Daryl, did the creature, the dog man, did it have, that you noticed, did it have paws or hands?
I could not see those well because when it turned and crossed right at the edge of the fence, it apparently stepped over the fence because there was a fence there. I was trying to see from the distance I was at, and there was also some small saplings and brush in that area that was kind of covering part of it. I could only see the right leg, and I could see that it was, like you said, kind of hawk type leg. The hands and those features, it looked to have more of a hand. I could only see the right hand, but I couldn't see it well enough to say for sure. From the distance I was at, I was mainly looking at the head more than I was anything with the binoculars because I was pretty shocked when I'd seen it anyway, and I could see the head really good. It was definitely, if I would see it, it looked just like a German Shepherd. There's no other way I could say it. Now, I couldn't tell you what the hands were exactly or if they were paws, but I think they were a hand because of the way it held its hand down, or paw, whatever they call a dog man. So I'm not a dog man specialist by any means, but
very few of us are specialists, if at all. At least I don't claim to be one. I don't know about Jessica.
I don't really think there's an
You're just special.
Anything. Yeah, you are. I agree with that, BMR. You are just special.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
But,
I've heard them described as looking like raccoon hands. That's what I've heard.
That's what I've heard too. And then I've seen pictures, supposedly with long fingers with claws on them, but I couldn't say that's what I seen. No. But I wish I could answer that, but I didn't see it well enough to tell you.
Hey, you just got to ask, and somebody asked, and I was going to ask anyways. And yeah, we don't know. I mean, I've heard all sorts of stories. Supposedly you see some of these dogman tracks or prints in the ground. The ones that I've come across actually or been sent in or just viewing on the internet look like oversized dogs' hands, with the pads. I don't see very few do I see with actual digits. Right now, I've seen some, but very far and in between.
Well, the ones that I've seen, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You want to go ahead? I will.
No, I'm done. No, go ahead.
The ones I've seen, and I had found one probably about 3 or 4 years ago by accident. I was actually in an area just following a game trail, actually. and I'd found a track that was most different of any track I'd seen. And that particular track looked more like a heel, the heel part, and then it kind of turned into more of the dog man foot. It turned into a regular canine looking foot, but my hands are large and it was a lot bigger than my hand. And then it had like claws on the end that you could see indented in the mud. So now the ones I've seen at LBL are real similar to that. I had actually posted those in our group, those paw prints that Martin and I took pictures of there. They were real similar to that. They were maybe not quite as big as that one I'd seen 3 or 4 years ago, but I don't know if I would think the back foot, if it's hot, would definitely leave a different imprint than the front. So I'm thinking the tracks that I found there were the hot type because of the heel.
With all this dog man talk, my dog is staring at me. I think he has to go to the bathroom. I'll be right. I'm gonna go let him out right quick.
All right, you go ahead.
Just a human controls for about 2 minutes at the most.
We got him excited.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating, Daryl, and yeah. I have never come across a dog man. Okay. But now hearing all these stories from people, I mean, that's something that my team's never even covered. I mean, I guess because we've never come across one here in Georgia, although we have them here. There's been reports of them.
Well, Joe and Jesse of Hell Bend Holler, close friends and good friends of mine. They're in your area also. So.
Yeah, well, they do come over to North Georgia. I've actually messaged with Jesse before,
right?
And I was trying to see if they wanted to come on my show too.
Oh, they're just super good. You won't find any better people than Joe and Jesse. They're just but they're really good researchers too.
Well, they did a good show on feral humans, which I thought was really interesting.
Very good show.
Yeah, really good show. And they were talking about backwoods cults. And there's a place up in North Georgia that we call it, not just we, but it's called Corpsewood Manor. And the locals call it Devil Worshippers Mountain. Okay, where this house was. Yeah, people go up there and do ghost hunting and things like that. But there were 2 men that were murdered there in this, we call it the Castle in the Woods.
Right.
Very, very dark energy up there, though. Okay. They were both Satanist, friends with Anton LaVey, actually, and did a lot of LSD. Okay. One of them was actually a college professor out of Chicago who created a certain type of LSD. So they had wild parties up there and stuff. But I believe Jesse and Joe had been up there. And so I had sent her a message about that because we did an investigation and we filmed it 10 years ago, Daryl. It's been a while.
Wow, that's 10 years ago. Okay.
It was from 10. Well, when we did our investigation. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, of course, I have the greatest respect for Joe and Jesse, and they're super good at what they do, and they also go into the LBL, and there's not a lot of people that want to go running around in the woods at night in the LBL. So they do it, and pretty impressive of some of the things they have found. But I think those creatures are a mixture of flesh and blood and interdimensional. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I have to agree with you on that. And that's something that we call the X factor. Okay. And there's something more to the Bigfoot phenomenon, the Bigfoots, the dogmen, any kind of these flesh and bone type of creatures. Some of them are also, I believe, interdimensional. And I don't even know what interdimensional means. I mean, like when it comes to them, it's like, what does that even mean? We use that word a lot, but we don't really know what it is.
The term interdimensional comes actually from interdimensional. In other words, they can transfer from one dimension to another.
Yes.
So I don't know. Of course, as humans, we only live in approximately 3 dimensions at the most. Most people 2. Now, animals, dogs themselves can see more dimensions than we can. Just our pet dog.
Cats can too.
Cats can too. That's true. but I'm no expert on anything, but I'm just talking from my
Yeah.
personal opinion and what I believe. But
I agree with you, Daryl. I'm right there with you. And
I
I've
think
been doing this for a while. We've seen some weird stuff. Um, just
I
the
had no
things.
idea that you were out doing that. That's
Oh
impressive.
yeah,
Jessica goes away for 5, 6, 7 days at a time, doesn't shower, barely eats.
I do need a shower
You
as soon
know,
as I get home. That's the first thing I do. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that'd be
yeah,
the first thing for sure. After 5 or 6 days, I think that'd be my first call. But
you know,
yeah.
behind Jessica's pretty exterior, she's a rugged woman inside. Let me tell you.
you got me believing
I ain't
that.
scared.
You
Yeah, well,
got me
thank
believing
you.
that, Rob. She is.
She's not scared of anything. She's what they call the bait.
I'll
I
be bait any day. I don't
I
mind.
love her first story when I first met her some time ago, talking about being bait
Yeah,
for the Bigfoot that actually
I
almost tripped her over, right, Jess?
well,
You know,
yeah.
you
'Cause
saw
something ran up
something.
behind me
Yeah,
and knocked my legs
yeah,
out. Yeah,
yeah.
Wow.
yeah.
Was that in Georgia?
Oh yeah, it was in
Okay.
Georgia. Yeah, North Georgia.
Well,
It sure
the
was up in
thing
the
about,
mountains.
I think all these things are connected. I really do. I don't know how,
Me
but I
too.
think even as far as as I've never seen a UFO, I've never seen a gray as they call them, but I think all of them are connected
You know
in
Well,
what?
I've
some
seen
way.
them.
Yeah, Jessica's seen a lot, and
Seen them.
and what's cool about this whole subject matter, I don't care if you're talking dogman, Bigfoot, aliens, ghosts, anything paranormal. I've come to the conclusion myself. Everything it's like a circle. You start at one end, you draw that circle, and guess what? It connects at one end, and everything in the middle is everything we're experiencing.
Don't
Mhm.
You
disagree
know,
with that either. That's true. That's a very good comment. I agree with that. But
Yeah.
I talked to Krista on Blinds and Booze quite a bit, and she is one of the best I know with the ghost. So I'm one of those guys that I don't mind being out with Bigfoot and that type of thing, but I don't care about being around the ghosts or the demons. So
yeah. You know what? You're probably inadvertently are, Daryl. You are,
Probably.
because I'm sure that I am. I know Jessica's been, and
Oh yeah,
it,
it's all connected.
it's all connected,
They're all lurking out there.
and
I,
the
I
creep,
do.
and Daryl, I want your thought on this because this is kind of a creepy thought. It's like, let's say you're out doing a Bigfoot investigation, you're doing your research. And most again, as you made mention, and I agree. Anyone says they're an expert, I'm a, probably, take them off the air, as soon as if they uttered that. But a lot of times, do we really know that it's a dog man or a Bigfoot? Sometimes, a lot of mimicking, I've heard of these so many different paranormal cases where you're out doing your Bigfoot research or cryptid research.
Well,
And it,
that's terrifying to some people because I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no,
you don't know what you're out in the woods with. You really
Hmm.
don't. And
Exactly.
I mean, it
Yeah.
could be any of those creatures could be out there, and that's what I was saying earlier about. For years I didn't mind going in even by myself and camping deep in, but now I'm hearing so much about Dogman and how they've tried to attack people and they're vicious and that type of thing. They were probably there when I was out there, but they never tried to attack me if they were. So I'm not truly one that believes that everything is all bad. I I really don't.
yeah, my opinion on that is, just like human beings, right? There's good and bad in
Correct.
humans, and there's good and bad in
Exactly.
any cryptid. I don't care if it's Dogman, Bigfoot, Mothman, or whatever your flavor. I think that, like anything else, there's evil and there's good.
I agree 100%. They're
And I'm not even going to say Dogman's evil. You always get those stories about the Dogman. I mean, I've gotten several encounter stories I've posted on my channel about the dog man running up out of the side of the car. You're doing 40 miles down the road and this thing is keeping pace with your car. And then it looks inside. And the thing that's really scary to me when I've read a couple of these encounters, and they have this snout, but they have this innate ability from the encounters that I've read, right? That they even can mask a grin and just kind of look at you like,
mhm.
I'm
Yeah,
scaring you, aren't you? I think a lot of them just like to scare you versus hurting you. Now, of course, the LBL is a whole different ball of wax. In fact, Jessica and I, or maybe I wasn't involved. She did her her deal on our show some time back about the massacres over in LBL, and that was quite entertaining. Just a great show, and I don't know,
That was
man,
a great
it's
show.
scary
It really
stuff.
was
Thank
a
you.
good show. Jessica's had some great shows. I watch most all of them. If I
Thank
miss it
you.
live, I catch it the next day and watch it. So what the biggest problem with that is you have a lot of people you want to watch at the same time, and it's hard to watch them all. Sometimes I've got two
Yeah.
different units going at one time, but
Yes.
I think that they're all. I really do think everything is somehow connected. I don't know what it is. After I seen those orbs, I went through a really bad time at my home, which was 30 miles away, and I still don't understand why that happened. So these things just started terrorizing my farm, and it was pretty frightening. I don't think I've been that frightened since my first encounter, but
Yeah.
something happened, and I don't know what it was. But there's a lot of abilities that all these creatures have that we have no clue how they have it, but they do.
Yeah, everybody. Darrell Denton back live with us. For those of you joining us in, for those of you listening later, we had some technical difficulties, but we smoothed our way through it. Daryl's up and running. Jessica and I handled the fort well, and I got to ask you because I remember again on Josh Turner on the podcast, he had asked you a question, and I didn't get the I didn't get all. He listened to all of it. But since all the things you've experienced now when you go out in the field, are you scared now? Are you terrified, or do you just let it roll off your back, or do you always have in the back of your mind that, man, this could be the day that I really, really don't want to be out in the woods?
Well, I don't research like I did at one time. After what happened at my farm
Yep.
in late 2020, I kind of stopped researching for a little while. I didn't really understand why it happened, and I still don't. I've got theories, but I don't really understand it. Um, as far as being scared, I was never scared before. I mean, I'm not going to say that I was just not on my mind. You always have on your mind that you have to be cautious and careful out there because you don't know what you're going to encounter. But as being saying no, I was never fearful. I would never say that's not true because there was times when I was. But I've been out there and I could hear these things walking all around me and I couldn't see them. And I knew they were there, but I didn't know for sure if they were Bigfoot. I thought they were, but wasn't 100% sure they weren't a dogman. So anybody that goes that deep into the woods and researches in the dark and way away from any cell phone service or anything with communication to the outside, if they're not fearful, then I would say there's probably something wrong with them. So,
Yeah.
or they don't know much about them. So
Yeah, and
that would go ahead.
I
Sorry.
know I agree. I mean, you should have. Here's the thing that I've kind of learned is like everybody. I guess there's a little bit of fear, but I've also talked to many people that say when you're in the woods, especially if you're in an area you're uncertain about, and you don't know that it's dogman or Bigfoot in the area, and maybe it's one of these other entities, right? One of these malevolent, however you say that word, entities that
Yeah.
are out
Right.
there that there to scare you. If you do show fear, like literally, like you can go up to your dog, like my dog. If someone comes over my house and they're nervous and there's something quite not right, my dog will sense that, and that's
Sure.
nothing new.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that about their
Yeah.
animals.
Right.
And
Agree with that.
if you go into the woods with that same attitude or that same fright, then you're just open game for these things that want to get you. I mean, and obviously get you, like kill you, but get you and scare the bejesus out of you and make you think. And that's why I always try to be,
Yeah. I can.
positive mind, open the pineal gland,
Yeah.
however I say it, Jessica.
I can assure you that I know from personal experience, and there's no doubt in my mind whatsoever, 100% believe that Bigfoot, that I don't know if all of them, but a large portion of them, and I'm sure Dogman can too, but Bigfoot can read your mind. They know what you're thinking, and they know if your intent is wrong when you go in. If you go in there and you're carrying your gun and they know you've got a gun, you're not going to see one. And if you get the same way with a camera, people all the time say, well, what about the cameras? Why aren't you taking pictures? How come there's very seldom do you ever even see a trail cam pic? You'll see one with a partial eye shine, or you'll see something maybe on the ground, but it's very rare when you see one of a shot of any of those type creatures on it, because they're very aware of those, and these things aren't stupid. They're very intelligent. I'm a true believer that especially the good Bigfoot, and I know there is a good type, that they are so intelligent that they know what a camera is, they know what a gun is. And when I go in the woods by myself, especially deep in the dark, and camp by myself, I let them know when I'm going in. Hey, I'm here. I just want you to know I'm visiting your home, and I'm not here to harm you. Please don't harm me. And that's always worked for me. That don't mean that it always will, but I want them to know what I'm thinking, that I'm not there to harm them, because you're going into their home. That's not your home. You're visiting. And if you don't let them know that, a lot of times people go in with an intent to harm them. And I do know people that would shoot one immediately, and I'm not one of those people. I do think that the biggest portion of Bigfoot are just forest people. They're
Yeah.
real people. They're a people, not an ape. They're the type, they're there, that's their home, and they're very intelligent, and they're curious, and they want to know what you're doing there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not really quite sure how I'm going to classify it as of yet with what I've gone through. I'm still on the fence with a lot of different things, but I will say this: if anybody has an intention to going into the forest and shooting a Bigfoot, and let's say you did, well, let me tell you something. I do believe in this: where there's one, there's more. There's always somebody watching the other one.
For
So
sure.
if you were that person to sight one up, see it, take aim, fire, and let's say you killed it, and again, we've never heard anybody, again, just 'cause we did that show on bugs, right, in Texas
Hmm.
about killing a Bigfoot and burying them
Hmm.
in
Yeah, I
Texas.
watched that show. That was a very interesting show.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you.
but I believe though, if you shot one and killed it, guess what? You're not making it out of the woods alive
No,
yourself.
I agree 100% with that, because they don't stay. What I learned from my second encounter, especially the ones I gifted for a long time, and I was really close to those creatures. They were not aggressive ever. They made me gifts, and they were just really friendly type people. I call them a people. So they had no intention of harming me, and they trusted me because I'd been in so often. And when I'd go in, I would let them know, "Hey, I'm coming in. I'm here to see you today." I mean, I would say those words in the woods, and I would hear them off different areas. You'd hear one make a noise and one another noise, and long story short, I actually had gifted those creatures on my second one with some plastic whistles, and I bought a little bag of these plastic whistles, and I'd hung them. They had little black strings on them, and that you could hang them up. They were just a little cheap bag of plastic whistles, and I think there was 6 or 7 of them in that pack, and I hung them on tree limbs all around the day before I left. And the next time I went in, they heard my voice, and they knew my voice, and I could hear them moving and running through the woods and getting in a position where they could look at me. And then the funniest thing is probably one of the funniest stories I've had with that clan, and I really enjoyed my time with that clan. I could hear whistles blowing across the river, back behind the woods, to the left, to the right. These
No
things were
way.
these things were blowing these whistles and letting me know that they knew I was there, and they were intelligent enough to know how to use them.
They are
Wow.
intelligent and they can mimic anything, and they can.
Best owl call I've ever heard was from a Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, we got to hear about that. Wait, Jessica, I know you got to pick up your child probably pretty soon. If you have to split,
Yeah.
That's fine by me. I might just keep Daryl on for a little longer since
Well, I
we lost him.
apologize. I apologize again for going out on you guys several times.
That's okay, Daryl.
Uh,
Well, I was going to keep him out for the 15. Oh, there he is. Well, maybe it's best we end the show here on that note. Now I can't hear the guy. What did I just do, Jessica? I just said, hey, I'll let you go. And now Daryl's all, messed up. I guess it's maybe it's psychic, telepathy. I don't know what it is. Yeah, he's gone. Well, you know what? That's okay, Daryl. We've done an hour and a half. Jessica.
Hey, I'm actually just posting that the article that I referred to earlier in the show about the Super Soldier program. I am posting that in Bigfoot Michigan Rob's chat right now. Okay, I'll go to Texas Front Porch and put it in there too.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Yeah, Rob, thank you for letting me co-host with you today. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, you can be my co-host as long as you want. It's always open for you. You're not doing the Friday show, but you're still my friend, and you can be my co-host for the next, however long we end up doing
until
this.
Tex is back.
Tex will be back to the first of the year. In fact, I might not even have him back. Just kidding, Tex.
Oh my gosh!
Thanks everybody in chat. Thanks for coming in. I really do appreciate it. And I do appreciate you weather through the storm, so to speak, with Daryl and his, they're having something blow through, not a hurricane, but they're having some weather down there. And we did a great show, though, Jessica. You and I handled it. He did great when he was on. Everybody in chat were our troopers. Everybody that listens later. There's a little bit of snafu going on, but it's quite funny. It was very entertaining. We're entertaining, you and I, Jessica.
We're here to entertain. That's our job.
We're a great team. We're a great team.
Yeah. We hold it down. We know what's up.
We do a great job.
Listen, we've made enough mistakes to know how to handle them now.
Yeah, absolutely. We get through it. We get through it like champions.
All those internet issues and all that stuff. We know how to deal with it.
Yeah, we do. We just roll. We just roll. We're becoming more professional.
Well, kind of, I guess.
Well, I can't be totally professional. I gotta be a clown once in a while.
Oh my gosh.
I love clowning with you.
I do too. And hey, Nana Boss is in the chat. She's who I was in the mountains with this past weekend. So, yeah, Nana Boss is in the chat. So, hey. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys.
Yes. Thank you, Jessica Jones, for coming in. Thank you for Daryl. Thank you for everybody in chat. I love you. Please love us out, which means share us out. Subscribe to the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones. I was going to have Daryl drop where we can find him. He's on Facebook. If you're friends on Facebook, he's got a really cool Bigfoot
It's a group. It's called Bigfoot Believers and Other Creatures. You guys go join it. It's one of the best on Facebook for sure.
It is cool. Yeah. It's very cool. And again, Jessica, subscribe to the Cryptid Huntress. She's on Space Out Radio on the weekends, Saturday and Sundays. I believe that's at 9 Eastern. Jessica? Central.
Well, it's 10 Eastern.
10 Eastern. Go check her out. Eastern. She does great work over there on Dave Scott's channel. Shout out to Dave Scott. Yeah. And
I've got my own show on Wednesdays during the day. You guys check that out too. Yeah, it's really fun.
It's a great show. Jessica's always a lot of fun. It's always a pleasure having you. It was a pleasure having Daryl. It's a pleasure having our chat rooms, speaking it up. Glad you had some laughs with us. I hope you learned something. I sure did. Hope you did as well. I'm going to find the button.
Thank you,
talk
Daryl.
to y'all on the flip side. Oh, and tonight. Serial Papers with Jason McLean. I think we're talking about the red moon and the effects of the voting.
The lunar eclipse.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That'll be kind of interesting. Me and Jason tonight, 10 in the East.
It's fitting. A couple of lunatics.
Yes. I usually just sit back and listen to Jason. He has a wealth of knowledge.
He's amazing.
Sometimes he blows my mind. I feel like I have ADT when I listen to Jason. I'm like, what? What the hell are you talking about? All right.
All right. You have ADT.
Whatever I said. See, I don't know what I just said. See what? I was clowning around.
Security.
Call security. Call security. And I hate clowns. On that note, love you, Jess. Love everybody.
Bye, everybody.
We'll see you on the flip side.